All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the stream, the first ever Sunday stream for live with the viewers. We're gonna do an intro for a couple minutes, then we'll definitely get into the debate. I see Void in the chat with the eyeballs. I'm assuming that is about the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson debate that we will do. Matt's gonna join in a little bit. Whenever he can. He's actually at Cowboys training camp, so when he's able to get some time, he'll be on for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and we'll talk about it. Should be pretty soon that he's able to join, but it's going to be a lot of fun. How we want it to go down is basically, Matt's obviously going to present kind of the Josh Allen case, and then if y'all want to just put your opinions in the comment section and like your arguments, we can put those up so that everybody kind of feels like they're involved and they're getting their point across for what they think in the Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen kind of debate and stuff like that. But here he is. Here's Matt. Let's see how this works. I'm going to change the background so that when he does get in, I think he's on his phone, so that makes it more difficult. Let's see. I don't know if the camera's working. Is the mic working, Matt? We'll get him in a minute. Whatever. Matt can add himself. Matt has power in this stream. He can actually add himself when he's ready. But yeah, so should be a lot of fun. Try and not be as ruthless as possible. Matt's a good guy, but he's not Shannon Sharp. But it should be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, if y'all have any questions, we can absolutely talk about them until we can get him in the stream, which should be pretty soon. But yeah, so Joshua, do you have anything to talk about Ravens related? It's been a minute since we've talked with everybody.
Definitely been a minute. Nothing Ravens related yet, but I definitely want to talk about this USA basketball team. I don't want to say they're pitiful, but we got a lot of guys that's like, how can I put it? That's coming off these so-so seasons, and now they over here, playing still so-so. It's a lot of I'm hearing they're not liking the way the Greg Popovich era of playing team ball. And I think everybody on this USA team is ISO ball. So I don't know if they can just let go coaches on the USA team, but they need to figure it out in order if they want to win the gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I don't understand why JaVale McGee was added to the roster. I think that's pretty stupid. JaVale McGee is not a very good basketball player. And that's pretty much one of the reasons, like, we don't have top tier players that we're recruiting. I don't know why Trae Young isn't there. Add Brooke Lopez.
Zion.
What?
I would have took Trae and Zion at this point.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, that would be better than whoever the heck they have. I mean, Trae's better than Zach LaVine, who's supposed to be kind of starting for the Olympic team, and then Trae wants to be there. So yeah, absolutely. That's crazy. I will give a shout out to the Bucks and Six gang. We talked about it when the Suns were up 2-0, and Chris Paul.
I'll say this, man. Giannis had to do what he had to do, and what I mean by that, he had to play bully ball, and nobody hasn't. Let's be real. Since the NBA has transitioned over to more a shooting three type of league, you don't see too many guys really playing bully ball like that. I mean, yeah, we saw LeBron, steamroll his way through to the finals, for like 8 years straight. I mean, you see Zion Williamson doing what he does. I'm not even going to throw Ben Simmons in that category. Now you see Giannis, finally taking that stride. So, I'm proud of him. He showed leadership. He kept his guys motivated, and he kept on pushing. So, I give him their respect, and everybody stepped up too, because Drew Holiday played a hell of a games. Especially with his defensive side of the ball. Chris Middleton definitely did what he had to do, and they played good team basketball in order to to bring home that trophy.
Oh, here we go. Matt's kind of here. Hopefully, Matt, the other thing you could do is if you turn off your video, it might help. with the lag. I see him in the loading area, but we'll get into that. The best thing about Giannis, I think, is that everybody compared Lamar to Giannis, which I think is funny. So now Giannis finally got that championship, and so it's like what do we want to do? And also, Matt, you can add yourself whenever you think that it's actually going to work. Just add yourself into the thing, but. It should be a lot of fun. People that are just joining, we're going to get into the debate really soon. It's just once Matt's able to get in here. He's at the Cowboys training camp. So the first thing I got to ask him about is, the legendary 5th round pick that was Simi Fehoko. Matt, are you here? Can we hear you? Let's see here. He's in the stream. He's just not talking. Matt. All right, I do have a backup plan that could work because I can just call him on my phone and then. Oh, there we go. Hey, Matt. Matt doesn't want to talk to us. Wow, he's just scared, I guess. Doesn't want to talk about it. I see this from Void. We can talk about this while we're kind of waiting. But Void says thoughts on the Raptors eyeing Ben Simmons. That's kind of weird for me. I think that's probably a terrible spot for Ben Simmons. Yeah, I can hear you. There we go. Oh, he added the face cam. There we go. Oh, he took it off. But Pascal Siakam is not a good player to pair with Ben Simmons. That is a worse combo than Ben and whatever. Let's see if I can hear Matt. Hey, Matt, how you doing? We'll get him. I guess the cut.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear him? All right.
Yep.
All right. So
sorry about that.
Matt's on speakerphone near my mic, so that's the best way that we can do it.
I know it's a pretty janky way. I thought I'd have service out here.
Where are you in LA?
It's actually in Oxnard, so that's probably like an hour or so north. So kind of like in between Santa Barbara and LA.
Oh, okay.
I wish I could get my video going so I could get you guys some parts of the Cowboys scrimmage right now. Someone must have just made a sweet catch because it got really loud.
It was obviously Simi Fehoko.
Oh yeah, we saw Simi. He was making some one-handed catches in the warm-ups.
Look at that.
So that was cool to see. Got Troy Aikman walking around over here, which was sick.
Nice.
But anyone listening, I would like to say before we start talking about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson that I think McConnell may have made me come across as a Lamar hater, and that is far from the truth. Lamar Jackson is, and I'm a 49ers fan, so non-49ers guys, Lamar is one of my very favorite players in the NFL. Him and Julio are like my two dudes that aren't 49ers. So I would like to say that before we get into Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because I feel like I've been framed as something that I'm not by McConnell.
I didn't frame you as anything. I said your opinion, which was that Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson. Is that your opinion?
Okay. That is my opinion. But I want to hear this from anyone listening right now. Explain to me like why you got like, because I think it's fair. I don't think it's like, oh, like it's like super clear or anything. I don't think that's the case. I think it's definitely debatable. But give me like the takes for why Lamar's a better overall player. Because obviously running, like the running ability, Josh Allen's great and all, but Lamar's generational rushing ability. And we've talked about this. If you compare him as a runner to anyone, the guy you compare him to is Barry Sanders, without question, I think. Just the feet speed and his ability to, get away from guys in open space is something truly remarkable. So that's where I'm at there. But I would like to hear, like, the takes for why people – like why it's so outlandish. Because, like, since you told me we were going to be talking about this, I've asked probably 10 people, and everyone that I've asked, and keep in mind, none of these people are Ravens fans or Bills fans, they all told me that they thought Josh Allen was a better quarterback than Lamar. I also think that I don't know how much that means though, because for some reason the people do not like Lamar Jackson lately. I don't get it. But I don't know, McConnell. What's your take for Josh Allen being not as good as Lamar?
Yeah, so I think the way that we're gonna do it. So Joshua, Matt can't hear you, so I think how we can do it is we'll do basically. People in the comments have already said some of their opinions, so I can go through that. So if you're in the stream, comment your your takes. We'll read them off and we'll give them to Matt, because that's the best way to do it. Because I've talked with Matt about this plenty of times. So I see Chris Griffith. He said Lamar is the second ever unanimous MVP. Yeah, he is better. Allen had one better year in his whole career. Lamar is a proven winner and one of the best to ever do it. Period. And then
I don't see anything wrong with that. That's a fair take, because if you look at Lamar and Josh Allen's career numbers, Lamar is obviously, he has better numbers. He has clear better numbers. But the difference is you've got to account for, and this is where I think a lot of the discussion will be, is Josh Allen's last year what he's going to be, or is that more of an outlier season? Because if you believe that he just played over what he is, over his median, then then Lamar's case becomes a lot better. But you're talking, if you just look at 3 years, because they're both in the league 3 years, they have almost the exact same number of starts too. I think they're off by 3 or 4. Josh Allen's first 2 years, he was under 60% completion percentage, and he raised his completion percentage by 11%. I don't know if there's been a player that has raised their completion percentage by a higher number than that ever in a one season span. But he was 58, and last year he was 69% completion percentage. So his big flaw in his first 2 years, especially, and of course in college at Wyoming, was that he was not accurate, and especially he was not accurate downfield. And that last year was not on display. He was one of, not a super top end accurate quarterback downfield, but he was up there. He was in the top half for sure. And if you're throwing at almost a 70% completion percentage, that's elite. That was he was the 6th highest completion percentage last year. And you have a couple guys in there like Teddy Bridgewater. I forget who was ahead of him. A couple guys that are more check down throwers. Josh Allen, they throw a lot of screens, a lot of wheel routes and stuff, or a lot of bubble routes and stuff to Diggs, but he's slinging the rock. That's the thing about his game. But no, I don't think that's wrong. If you're looking at 3 years, if you just take their sample size right now of what they've done, Lamar does have better numbers. But I think moving forward, and we were talking about this, I think if you went around and you asked all the GMs and scouts in the NFL, you're going to get a lot more people saying that they'd rather rock with Josh Allen moving forward. And that's where I'm saying. If you just look at the past, though, I think that looking at the numbers, Lamar has better numbers. I don't really think that's debatable.
Yeah, so the next kind of point that people are bringing up, this one's from Void. He says, I say Lamar is better. We saw what Josh Allen did without Diggs. He looked like Trubisky. Lamar without a true number one was balling. Give Lamar Diggs, and he puts up 4,000 passing yards or 40 touchdowns. And then also I saw a point that said Lamar, and I looked up the stats. So Lamar in 2018 was a 58% completion quarterback, and in 2019 he was 66%. So he went up 8%. Lamar did.
That's good.
Into his MVP.
That's really good.
Yeah. So both of these guys made tremendous improvements in their seasons. But what do you think about the Diggs case? Because that is a major factor, is he did end up getting Diggs, but the guys he had before were terrible. No offense to, man, who did they even have?
Who, the Bills?
Yeah. Cole Beasley.
John Brown.
They had John Brown.
John Brown is a very underrated receiver. I mean, he was a Raven, wasn't he?
He was a Raven Lamar's rookie year. So who was the wide receivers Josh Allen's rookie year?
Didn't he have Cole Beasley? I forgot who.
I got it.
They had Kelvin Benjamin. I don't even know if he really played.
Here we go. I've got it. Kelvin Benjamin. Oh, they had Zay Jones.
Oh God, that's terrible. Oh God, that's atrocious. I think that's fair though. Bringing up the receivers, because if you look at all right, who are the receivers that win a lot? Diggs is one of them. You have Adams, guys that are getting open. Where especially if we're going to bring up completion percentages, raising, Diggs is a huge part of that. Like that's 100% true. Like I was saying, I don't think that like saying Lamar's better is like something crazy. Like I don't think it's like, oh, everyone should think that. I love Lamar. I hope he does better. I don't particularly even like Josh Allen that much. Like in terms of who I really want to root for, Josh Allen is not at the top of my list. And we were talking about this. But no, I like that. If you gave him a Diggs, so then my question for anyone listening then, is this a year where we can expect Lamar to make not a jump, because he already made that 8% jump, and I know last year's completion percentage was 64, but is this the year where he's going to like take off in terms of throwing the ball? Like, is he going to be able to be like comparable in numbers, like passing the ball, than Josh Allen will be this year? Because I mean, Bateman's a good player. I don't think Bateman's going to have a Diggs level impact, but you have Bateman and Hollywood. That's a pretty good outside duo right there. And then I mean, Mark Andrews is a very good tight end as well. So is this the group that he can, say like, hey, I can put up 3,500 yards or whatever that is?
I think there's definitely I don't even know if it's as much even the group, but the new coaches, T. Martin and Keith Williams, major impacts for their programs, their schemes. They should be able to definitely help in the scheme. And I see a comment from Chris Reed who says, no, give Bateman a year. He will be a true number one, and then we can judge, but don't do it yet. So next year could be the judge for Lamar Jackson with good wide receivers. But, Matt, why don't you – I know you have opinions on Greg Roman. You are not oblivious to Greg Roman and his impact on passing the football. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? Because, I think people will –
No, that's something that has to be brought up. I like I said, I'm a 49ers fan. So we can look back into even the 49ers and Ravens history, and I remember a certain assist by Greg Roman to the Ravens organization when he decided not to run the ball from the 5-yard line with Frank Gore. And if you're going to look at, a lot of people, when you start getting into Kaepernick, and I don't want to have a full Kaepernick discussion, but when you start looking at Kaepernick, a lot of people are like, oh, he totally fell off, blah, blah. No, that's because Greg Roman couldn't change. He couldn't adapt when he had Cap, and he was limited because, the offense was limited. So I'm not a big Greg Roman guy. And we've talked about this. The passing offense with Greg Roman teams, they just don't do it. I don't know what it is. Like, they don't get over the hump. And I don't think that's Lamar's fault. I never felt it was Cap's fault. I don't know. I think that is definitely an area where if you're comparing the two, and you want to bring up, I think for Lamar's case, and these are what's been brought up, this is definitely like a very intelligent comments by people, because if you're going to bring up the two areas, I think, where you go, well, Lamar, of course, Lamar's a better runner, but if you're looking at passing the football and go, well, he might not be putting up those numbers. The two reasons are, well, Josh Allen's throwing the rocks to Stephon Diggs, one of the best in the business, and the coaching from an offensive standpoint is on a very different level, I think. So that's something that's hurt me with Lamar too. I mean, we talked about it, and I know you made a video right after the playoff game where you said fire Greg Roman. I would like to see him with a guy that can, or at least bring in a quarterback coach that can really help him take off. I don't know. I don't see it with Greg Roman. That's a guy that, and I've watched a lot of Greg Roman offenses too, so not a fan of that. I think that he hurts Lamar quite a bit. You just can't get, like, you don't get those layup passes. That's the difference in so many offensive systems, that you'll have a guy, and like, for instance, Kyle Shanahan, you know how many layup passes there are in Kyle Shanahan's system? It's absurd. So yeah, I just think that, like, you don't get those layups, and that's another area like where Lamar's like flying around, has to pull everything out of his ass basically. And that just makes it tougher on him. So I think that's a really good point to bring up. Hopefully they figure it out. You said, who were the additions in terms of coaching for the Ravens?
T. Martin, who was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee, or he was the quarterback's coach at Tennessee. I know he was at Tennessee, and he was the offensive coordinator for Juju and I think Sam Darnold at USC. Mm-hmm. And then Keith Williams, who was Sammy Watkins' personal trainer. I believe he trained Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams as well, as their like personal wide receiver coaches. So they're seen as very, very good. Like NFL players that talk about them, they're like, this is a big time move.
I know Martin. I don't know Keith Williams, but I know Tim Martin. He's a very good coach.
Yeah,
I like that. That could be a big deal for him. And like, especially when you're talking about like, oh well, Greg, if Greg Roman's not that great, like that's the way you kind of fix that solution. Because Greg Roman does some stuff that is really incredible. Like his offensive running schemes are some of the best in the business. But it's like there's just like always feels like there's something left to be desired in those offenses.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a long discussion, but we've gone to that a lot, Makana. So,
yes, we definitely have. So
real quick, I have one more question to ask people that are listening. Where do you guys, because you're talking about like it should take another year with Bateman, like you can't judge him on his rookie year. Completely agree. But where do you guys see Lamar this year? Like, what do you like? How different is it going to look than last season?
Yeah. First off, Engraving Vince says Joshua looks like he's about to put the pads on and be at training camp on Tuesday. That's hilarious. But for me, I think the biggest thing with looking at Lamar this year, I expect him to be significantly better than what he was last year because of the additions that they made and because of the additions to not just the receivers, not just the coaches, but the offensive line. The bad snaps killed the Ravens. The poor blocking, the inconsistent offensive tackle play should all be gone this year, or at least for the majority of the year, and that's going to help a lot, as well as actually having, Ronnie Stanley and having 3 tight ends will allow them to get back to their 2019 offense. So I expect them to get a lot better. I see this is the final thing I have for you, Matt, because this will be the end all be all, and I'll add on to this. But Jeremiah says, let's see after this year where everyone sits on Josh Allen. And I've never heard of one coach or GM saying they would rather have Allen over Lamar. That's a lie. Media says something and it's the truth. I'm going to add on to this, Matt, and ask you, why would a GM or coach take Josh Allen over Lamar? Like, why is that the reason? And I know that you can give a reason. That's why I'm asking it. Why is it Josh Allen over Lamar in terms of, you're building a franchise, you're doing all that stuff?
It's going to be the arm talent. It's very different. And before we get into Allen, let me ask you this, and I think everyone has the answer. Who is the best quarterback in the league? We all know that answer, right? Patty. If you're going to try to find the guy that is most similar to Patrick Mahomes, just in terms of everything, really, it is Josh Allen. That does not mean he's the second best quarterback in the league. I would take Rodgers over him any day. But if you're trying to project of like, what can you do with this guy? Because really, like, if you're if you believe in yourself as a coach, you're going to take the guy that you think can do the most with an offense. When you look at like what the Ravens do and what Lamar does, is he a running back? No, that's such a dumb statement when people go, "Oh, Lamar's just a running back." No, he's a very good passer. He's a very dynamic player when he gets out of the pocket. His downfield vision, like when he's in the backfield, basically evading many tacklers in the backfield, is top notch. Some of the best in the league. I think him and Kyler Murray are the 2 guys that do that best. Josh Allen does not do that on the same level. But if you have an offense where you have receivers that, like a Diggs, like you have that dynamic weapon, that like 1-2 punch to him is really good. Like that is so disgusting for offenses, like for defenses to go against. Like that's a nightmare. Like I think last year the best like combos in the league were Rodgers and Adams, and then Allen and Diggs. Like those 2 where it's just like, okay, you can't stop them. Like if they get in a rhythm, it gets really disgusting. And the thing that we've seen with Allen in this last season is the development in his passing game. He is able to spread the ball so much farther throughout the field. There's just not many guys that can do it like that. And like Lamar's never going to be a guy that sits in the pocket and lets 15-yard outs rip over and over again. Like he's not going to be like that. And a lot of coaches, like that ability to get outside the numbers, because Lamar does throw outside the numbers, but he's not sitting back in the pocket and letting it rip like Allen can do. So I think that's the biggest difference, is that you can have a much more dynamic offense in terms of sitting in the pocket and just going. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar, because, like I said, his ability to extend plays is is maybe like one of the best we've ever seen in the league. But I think that pocket ability from Allen is something really special. And like we were talking about, I brought up how I praised Lamar on his rushing ability. Allen I think it's either Allen or Kyler are the second or third best rushers. Josh Allen has ran for, I think it's 8, 9, and 9 touchdowns in his career. That is really, really good. And most of these, like, it's like escape, and then you get big plays. He's not going to ever run for the yards that Lamar runs. But their offense last year was, if it's on, like, it's unstoppable. And that's the thing where Lamar's a little bit more dependent on his situation around him, I think, than Josh Allen is. But I will say, I don't know who said that answer, so I'm sorry if I didn't get your name, who said basically, like, you got to wait a year. But I think that's definitely fair. Like, these guys are only in their third year. They haven't even gotten their second contract. I'm just trying to kind of look at it as, like, who do you project to be that better guy? And I would have to rock with Allen now. Like I said, I like Lamar way more. I hope Lamar's a better player long term. I want him to be. I think Lamar is maybe one of the best mindsets in all of football. Like, and we've talked about this, McConnell, that we think that he potentially could be a guy that takes a little bit of a pay cut because he wants to win. Like, and like I said, Lamar is one of my favorite players in the league. So I hope he is better, but I do think that right now, if you're looking at what these guys can do, Josh Allen is just able to do a little bit more, and that ability to sit back in the pocket and just rip 15-yard outs is there's like 4 guys that can do that, like, to that degree.
Yeah.
And that's where, and I'm not saying like Lamar's arm is bad or anything like that, but it's just not that caliber. And his ability to be dynamic outside the pocket is something super special, but it's not like Allen's lacking that. It's not like he just can't do that. Can he do that to the degree that Lamar can? No. But Lamar is not able to sit back in the pocket and just let it rip at the level that Allen can. And the thing is, Allen very well could become a much better player as these years. Like, he could still get better, and Lamar can too. But the arm strength and the arm talent is ridiculous. So I think that's why I think that. And we were discussing this. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that's fair. If you look at the type of player that Lamar is, he isn't a gunslinger. He isn't going to be that guy that rifles in passes to the sideline. When Lamar throws sideline passes, typically it's typically he rolls out of the pocket and he hits the sideline throw. It's typically a very good throw. Unfortunately, Ravens wide receivers and Miles Boykin on the sideline aren't great players to analyze when looking at being able to make those plays and catch those passes. But the Ravens offense, it is different. However, at the same time, it's something where you have to look at, like, Lamar. If you've ever watched Lamar in the 2-minute offense, the way he works the sidelines is some of the best in the NFL. However, they never utilize that. Is that something that you can look at and be like, hey, he can consistently do this throughout the entire game? Or is it like, oh, hey, he gets into that one mood and starts doing it? And we don't know, because Greg Roman does limit the offense. And it's something where, unless Greg Roman with Team Art, because they had David Culley, who is atrocious, as their pass game coordinator, like, he's not helping out the wide receivers at all. He's not helping out Lamar at all. So now they have T. Martin and Keith Williams. If they can get Roman to open up the playbook or something like that, that could make a difference. But if they never even, because it's not even the point where it's like, oh, he can't do it. It's like, he's not allowed to do it. And when he gets into the 2-minute offense and he's calling the plays and he's, they're going no huddle, he throws to the sideline every time and marches down the field seemingly with 90% success rate. It's very rare that they're ever in this situation, but when he gets there, he absolutely does it. I see somebody ask, passing touchdown to Andrews against Washington was not from the pocket. It was not from the pocket. He was rolling out to the left side of the field when he hit Andrews. I'm assuming you're talking about the one where he lofted it into the front left corner of the end zone, would be my assumption. But yeah, overall, I think that's really good, Matt. I know you're pretty busy. You're at training camp right now. So thank you for coming on, giving your arguments, all that stuff. If you want to stay on, you can. But I know you're busy. You probably have to go.
I'll take off. I'll say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Lamar's money in the 2-minute offense. I love watching him in the 2-minute offense. He does really good. And when I'm talking about, like, slinging the outs, I don't mean just, like, oh, he's not able to do it.
Yeah.
Like, of course he's able to do it. Every NFL quarterback can throw it out. But the difference is when you get and this is what has made Rodgers so special throughout his career. When he sits on the opposite hash, he can go opposite hash to sideline, and he can get it there with a tremendous velocity. And it's not that Lamar, like I said, it's not that he can't do that, but he's not going to be able to sit back in the pocket to the level that Josh Allen is able to do. And also, like you guys said, it's a big difference when Lamar's throwing to Hollywood on that, or Allen's throwing to Diggs. That's a big deal because Diggs is going to get a lot more separation. But that's the hardest throw in the sport. It's hitting that 15-yard, 20-yard out, sitting back in the pocket when you have to get it. Because if you can't make that throw, if you miss that throw, that's a pick six every time.
Yep.
And we've seen a lot of quarterbacks, especially backup quarterbacks, when they come to the league, and they'll come in and try to hit the out, and then it's six. You see that all the time. I saw that with Nick Mullins way too much last season. But I think that's where it gets to for me. And it's not like it's just we can't have one route. When you're able to do that, it opens up the defense. It makes them so much more vulnerable, and that's why last year you saw the Bills' offense when they're on, they were ridiculous, and that's why I think it's just hard for me to see. It's not hard for me to see, but I just think it's more likely that you're going to see Allen dominate a lot longer. But I hope. I told you guys I want Lamar to be good. I want Lamar to be that dude. I think he is. I think he's a big time winner. That's another thing you can point to if you're arguing for Lamar. He wins way more. I know wins aren't a quarterback stat or whatever it is, but Lamar is the guy. He's the reason they win a lot of games.
Yeah.
And we've seen Allen do some funky stuff. You remember the Texans game where he's running around like that play? Lamar's not going to make a play like that. He's more consistent in terms of that.
Yeah.
But it's tough, man. It's really tough. I think T. Martin that can be huge for him. But you can't discount what the Bills do, because the Bills have a really good setup right now. I don't know. I like it though. I like the Lamar argument too. I don't think it's a bad argument. Like I said, I think I'd probably just, if I'm going to take a guy and build an offense around a guy, I think I can just do a little bit more with Allen. And like I said, not to discredit Lamar. Lamar's a superstar quarterback, and he's gonna deserve every single penny he gets from the Ravens when that time comes. But yeah, I think that's probably where I am. Any other comments? Anyone blasting me?
A lot of comments. You may just have to come through and rewatch this with the live comments on just to see what people are saying. We definitely did not get to all the comments, but we'll keep talking about it. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. If y'all want to check out Matt's stuff, I highly doubt anybody's a Ravens fan or a 49ers fan in here. But if you want to check out, Nuggets of Gold, which is Matt's 49ers show. If you're a San Diego Padres fan, go check out Friar Talk. And then if you want to check out, Matt and I do a show together every day where we talk about current football. It's called The Football Diary. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link in there. If y'all want to check it out, we made a video today on Barry Sanders versus Walter Payton. A lot of fun. Check it out. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any final thing to say before you head out? Maybe hype up Simi Fehoko. I don't know. You're at the Cowboys training camp.
Yeah. Simi Fehoko was making some one-handed catches out here. It looked pretty nice. Last thing I'll say is, while I'm saying this all, like I said, I want Lamar to be the better player. I like Lamar. He is my favorite quarterback, outside of Trey Lance, but he's my favorite quarterback outside of Trey Lance in the NFL. I watched every one of the Ravens games because of Lamar Jackson. I own Lamar in fantasy, and I won't trade him. He's one of my no-trade guys because I just love watching him, and I want to have a reason to watch him every day. So, one of my favorite dudes. I really hope he gets it done. The one thing I hate about a lot of Lamar haters, because that is not what I'm trying to be right now. I'm trying to compare two guys that I think are superstar quarterbacks in the NFL. So it might come across like I'm slandering Lamar. I'm not trying to do that whatsoever. Lamar's great. But I do hope he can kind of figure it out. I don't get why people don't think he can win in the playoffs. I don't understand that. That's not on him. He's been great. And of course he gets slandered for losing to the Titans in his rookie year. And what do you have, 500 yards of total offense? So you're not going to find Lamar hate from me in any of my stuff. That's a guy I really will vouch for and a guy I really like. So don't like that you have to bring me on here to discredit Lamar McConaughey. But that's pretty much all I got. anyone listening, if you feel like I'm critiquing Lamar too hard, I mean, I'm cool. I'm definitely cool to have a discussion, open-minded to both those things. And I do think it's fair. Like we are comparing guys 3 years into their career. So it can look completely different 3 years down the road. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But I do hope Lamar is the better player of the two. And I mean, I hope I'm wrong in this case because I told you I don't really like Josh Allen that much either. So I'd much rather see Lamar continue to dominate. Probably the greatest rushing quarterback in terms of talent that I've ever seen for sure. Better than Vic. That might be debatable, but I think he is. So that's where I'm at. But thanks for having me on, McConnell.
Thanks for coming on, Matt. We'll definitely talk to you later. Everybody go check out Matt's stuff. But thanks for coming on. Sorry about everybody that we had to do it in that way. He wasn't going yesterday. He texted me, he's like, hey man, I'm going to Cowboys training camp tomorrow. And I was like, hey, well, just call into the show. Cause he was going to be at his normal setup and stuff. He had to call in. And then he had to call in on the phone because the service wasn't good enough to be on the stream setup. But let's get into kind of more of a normal live with the viewers. Ask any questions you want. But Joshua, we got to talk about Josh Allen and stuff. Also, everybody's comments at the end was hilarious. How you said, "Who is this guy?" And then Nana says, "A fool." We were laughing our butts off when Matt tried to give his closing argument. But Joshua, you had to be silent because Matt couldn't hear you. What are your thoughts on kind of what he was saying? What do you think in this debate / discussion of Josh Allen versus Lamar?
I mean, any guy coming from University of Wyoming, North Dakota, any of them small schools like that, you're not gonna find a generational talent. You're gonna find one of those typical, NFL caliber big arm quarterbacks. I mean, what did we find from the University of Delaware? Joe Flacco. And what was he? A big arm quarterback, someone that can get the deep ball down the field, and someone that you're looking at a guy that's maybe about 6'4", 6'5", that can see over top of the line, and has a little bit of speed and get outside the pocket when they're in their early 20s. And eventually, if they have a good defense behind them, they can get to a Super Bowl or a playoff or a deep playoff run. We see that with Ryan Tannehill, all types of guys in that nature. But when you talk about the Russell Wilsons, the Cam Newtons, Aaron Rodgers, even Kyler Murray, you talk Drew Brees even as well. You talk about guys between that height range of 5'10" and maybe 6'2". So not all the time they're gonna be able to see over an average height offensive line of 6'6" or 6'7". So it's gonna require a lot of rollout plays, a lot of play action, things of that nature. That's gonna help them succeed and win at the top level. And that's what we're seeing with Lamar Jackson. But at the same time, you brought up a great point. We had a depleted offensive line last year. We had an offensive line that we went through maybe 2-3 centers last year that couldn't even get the ball straight to our quarterback. I don't understand how the first couple of weeks, our centers are snapping the ball perfectly. Next thing you know, deep in the season when we really need those snaps and to really put us in a position, it's getting snapped over his head or it's getting snapped low. All types of silly things, silly mistakes. Where you feel, in my opinion, some of the smartest players with the highest IQ is linemen and safety and quarterback. I feel like, I could be wrong. Y'all can argue with me, but I feel like, guys, I'll say linebacker just a little bit as well, middle linebacker specifically. Yeah. But when it comes like wide receivers, corners, maybe defensive ends, some of those guys can, or even running backs, some of them guys can rely on pure talent, and straight athleticism. So I wouldn't agree that Josh Allen is a better quarterback, not for the simple fact that I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan or the simple fact that I root for Lamar Jackson. It's just for the simple fact that he's a big arm guy. He reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger. He rolls out, when he does feel the pressure, he rolls out to the right. And if you don't have no containment on the right side, he's going to make something happen. Also, with the addition of Stephon Diggs and no actual running game, and the offensive coordinators actually provided him with, a playbook where he can show his arm. You have that argument. But as far as, taking lemons and making it lemonade, you got to go with Lamar Jackson. you got to go with that type. You got to go with that type of athlete. I mean, you have an organization that's pretty much on the cusp of winning the Super Bowl, and they're just maybe one player away, one player away, or one better coach away from getting to that level. So I want to say, Josh Allen's better because of a stronger arm. When it comes to IQ level, when it comes to, like I said, making something happen, I'm going with that guy, which would be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I have Lamar Jackson ahead of Josh Allen in my rankings. I love Lamar Jackson. Matt said he doesn't like Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. I'm a fan of Josh. My comp for Josh Allen coming out of college when he came into the league, I instantly thought Cam Newton. I thought that was the best comparison you could make. Just absolutely big, super physical runner. They're fast, big, strong arm. Unfortunately, Cam is not the same player he once was. The shoulder injuries that he's had has ruined his arm. He can no longer make the throws, but MVP level Cam is like an absolute monster. And I think Josh Allen's maybe a bit more accurate, statistically significantly more accurate. But we'll see if that's able to continue, as he was like the number 6 most accurate quarterback in the NFL last year. But it was an interesting discussion. I felt Matt brought some interesting points to it. Obviously, thank everybody that was helping the chat. We're not ending the stream or anything like that. Just kind of recapping the Josh Allen Lamar Jackson debate. But I also see Don C's in the chat. What's going on, Don C? But overall, like, what do we want to talk about? Let's get into kind of more of a traditional live with the viewers. Any questions you have, we'll talk about them. We'll have a good time. If y'all want to keep bringing up points, talking Josh Allen, talking Lamar Jackson, we can do that as well. It's kind of whatever y'all want to listen to, we're going to talk about.
Here for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, I was pretty excited to do this stream because I was like, you know what? There hasn't been a lot of Ravens news. Chandler Jones requested a trade today, or has requested a trade, so we could potentially talk about that. I don't know. I see Warden Zero says, how's your weekend going, fellas? There's the type of question. Welcome to the stream, Warden Zero. My weekend's going pretty well. I'm moving. Well, I'm going on vacation / also moving at the same time on Tuesday. So I'll be in my new house. I got a 1-year lease on that. So I'll be there eventually. So should be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm excited, but I'm working on packing stuff up. I don't know exactly what I'm going to bring. Also, another basketball added to the thing. If anybody didn't notice, turn around and saw that. Right there, there's a big old Brandon Roy signature on there, which is pretty cool. That's a 2008 team signed ball from the Trailblazers, so that was pretty cool when I just saw that right there. But Joshua, how's your weekend going?
Pretty good, man. Got some workout in. I wish I need Big Sexy to pass that physical test so he can get on so he can get out there training with the guys. So if he don't get out there, I'm gonna have to be his personal trainer so he can get right.
And my day just got a little bit better. Matt just texted me, said Simi just scored, and they're doing their full scrimmage. Great question here from Baltimore Zone 21 saying, who will be the sack leader this year? That is interesting. That's really tough because I think the easiest, quickest answer would be TJ Watt. However, he's no longer across from Bud Dupree. Now, I like Melvin Ingram, but I don't think he's going to add as much of a threat in the pass rush game as Bud Dupree added. So I don't think it'll be TJ Watt. That's a tough one. Do you have any answers, Joshua? Who do you think it could be?
I don't got nobody right now.
I gotta pull up last year's.
I might have to throw, one of the best defensive players around. I might have to throw Aaron Donald. It may be a better situation this year. As far as offense. When you got a more of an offensive juggernaut. Not saying they're going to be scoring a whole bunch of points, but with a more solid quarterback and Matthew Stafford, that defense may want to play a little harder. And we know how Aaron Donald is, man. He always shows out and he always plays to the best of his ability. So he might can be that sack leader.
Yeah, so my answer, it's going to be Myles Garrett.
Okay.
Myles Garrett is a monster, and he finally added a threat on the other side of the defensive line in Jadeveon Clowney. So I think Myles Garrett could be that guy this year that really takes it to the level that I really think he's at. I think he's one of the premier edge rushers in the NFL. He just hasn't had that crazy season yet. I think he can absolutely have it this year, which kind of sucks because we're Ravens fans. Let's see here. We've heard a good amount about Bateman, but Away's been quiet. Should we be concerned? Absolutely not. We haven't had any padded practices or anything like that. So, it's much easier to analyze a guy going, hey, look at that route. That was crisp, than seeing, we're not having defensive end, offensive tackle. We're not seeing Away go against Ronnie Stanley or Villanueva. Like, we don't see that.
It's all you get to play. It's all sudden play right now.
And so, it's not really beneficial for him. It's not helping him in terms of the media, but all of the praise has been amazing. So I wouldn't be concerned whatsoever about us not hearing about Away. He doesn't play a super flashy position. He doesn't play a position that gets, wide receiver. You can get highlight catches. You can run a really good route and be like, oh, wow, that was such a good route. And those are highlights. The only highlight people care about at the edge rusher spot is a sack or a strip sack, and that's not allowed in what we've seen in mini camp and practice, so and rookie camp. So I wouldn't be concerned whatsoever with Away not being talked about. He should be a guy in training camp to potentially look at. When we start doing the 11 on 11s and things like that, he's definitely got to pay attention to. How does he do with Lamar escaping the pocket? Can he chase him down and that kind of stuff? What about this? Why do people say Allen's 2020 season was better than Lamar's 2019? Recency bias. I think that's the only explanation is recency bias. Like, if you're not impressing somebody now, then they're gonna forget about what you did before, which is kind of sad, but that's how it works, unfortunately.
Now I will say, people shouldn't be concerned about it Away. I know I was one of the guys that was concerned about Away, just off the numbers, but dude's IQ level, and I can tell that he's the type of guy that likes to train. He likes to, soak up as much knowledge as he can and put it out on the field. So I definitely feel like that's something we shouldn't be concerned about, because he is going to get a lot of reps, at that starting position. And whether, it's Tyus Bauer, Jalen Ferguson, or Pernell McPhee, Derek Wolf, one of those guys are going to be opposite of him. It's going to be, just don't expect him to have a monster career like Terrell Suggs, for the sense of, he's a fast guy, he's strong, he's agile, mobile. Not saying he won't get to the quarterback, he won't get sacks, but we've seen, how that's been for, the premier, defensive ends, on either on the college level or the NFL level. Usually that guy that's, that's most feared, they double, triple, sometimes even have a running back stay in to chip them, and then that opens up the lanes for the other guys, as far as linebackers, defensive tackles, and other ends. I mean, hell, look at Zadarius Smith. He ended up getting a big check at Green Bay, and I've also been hearing that he may want to leave Green Bay as well. I don't know if that could be a possible reunion in the future, but hey, I would be open to it.
Yeah, I see something that says, so Chandler Jones and Justin Houston on our radar. Could we land both? We're not landing both. I don't think that's possible. Chandler Jones is making $15 million this year. Could be possible to bring him in. It could, if the Ravens could make the $7 million. I am a massive Chandler Jones fan. If I could pick between Chandler Jones and Von Miller, I am taking Chandler Jones every day of the week, even in their prime. Like, I've said this on different shows before. I think Chandler Jones is a monster. I think he's underpaid. If the Ravens could find a way to get him and extend him, that would be massive. I would rather pay Chandler Jones than Mark Andrews. Like, if we traded for Chandler Jones, I would give him the extension and not bring back Mark Andrews. That's how good Chandler Jones is. He is a defense-changing type of player, and you add him to Marlon Humphrey, that's going to make the Ravens defense one of the best defenses in the NFL for the next 5 years where they're all locked up. So But the issue is, can the Ravens make up the extra $7 million? I don't know. It would be a tough squeeze. However, if it's possible, the Ravens will get it done. It's just that's going to be tough. And I fully expect the Cardinals to want a lot for him because the Cardinals see themselves as contenders. I don't think the NFL sees them as contenders, but they see themselves as contenders. They brought in J.J. Watt to be this guy to pair with Chandler Jones. And now Chandler Jones wants out, and they're like, no. We brought in J.J. Watt to take our team to the next level. I see, overall, also, it says we're not trading Mark Andrews. No, we wouldn't trade Mark Andrews for him. We just wouldn't re-sign him if we were to do that. But, we got Maddox in here. Do we want to call Maddox and bring Maddox into the stream?
I mean, we might as well bring a Steelers fan in here. We done brought a 49ers fan in here, but I say this: Maddox is one of the most reasonable Steelers fans that I know. So yeah, we can bring him on in.
I'll text him and see if he wants to come on. If you guys want him on, comment in here. We'll see if he can come on. Oh. Let's see here. Let's see if he wants to come on the stream. If so, then we can talk more about it.
He said he's free.
He said he's down. All right, we'll get him on in a second. Let's see. I'm gonna send him. I'll send him the invite. Hopefully, he'll actually be able to have camera and stuff like that. All right, I'm sending it right now. Look at that. We're getting 2 discussions, and then he'll actually be able to see all the comments and stuff like that. So, I'm gonna find his Twitter. Oh, okay.
I saw somebody said our defensive end development has been a hit or miss. I definitely will agree with that. Only person I feel like we really missed out on was who did we have with Tim Williams? Or who did we get?
Tyus Bowser.
Okay, yeah. And we, because he came from Alabama. I mean, we know Ozzie back then. I always loved his Alabama guys. I mean, we saw what happened with Terrence Cody when Ozzie drafted him. It wasn't the best. But no, I definitely understand what you're saying on that. And but I mean, we did lucked up with Courtney. We did definitely lucked up with Courtney Upshaw. He wasn't no big numbers guy, but when he was in, he definitely made an impact, and we all know that.
They'll say, or Kamale Correa. Yeah, fortunately, Correa wasn't out of Alabama. That was just a poor selection out of Boise State.
And then he's had a better career since he's left us, just a tad bit.
Better, but not good.
Yeah, just a tad bit.
I see Adam says if LJ had a number 1 wide receiver like Stephon Diggs, he would be just as good as Allen. Yeah, I mean, if Lamar had weapons and stuff like that, yeah, he would definitely put up better numbers, and he already puts up pretty great numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and see that right there separates Lamar from Josh Allen. In my opinion, even though both of them, when they started off, they didn't have the best wide receiving core. But in my opinion, I feel like we had a more trashy wide receiver core. And
I don't know. Is rookie year Josh Allen's wide receivers might be worse than rookie year Lamar's.
Remember,
Lamar had Smokey and Crabtree. Josh Allen had, this is bad, Zay Jones, Robert Foster, Kelvin Benjamin had 300 yards, Jason Kroom.
I don't even remember that guy.
And the tight end was Charles Clay. That's bad. Like, the next year he had John Brown and let's see here. I'll go to 2019 Bills, who was on their team. I think that's when they had Cole Beasley.
Okay.
Let's see here. John Brown, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox. Significant improvement in the wide receiver core. And John Brown was a 1,000-yard wide receiver with him. So I see Jarrett Johnson was the best Alabama player we've had.
Jared Johnson was definitely solid.
I mean, he's not Marlon Humphrey, but like, I mean, Marlon Humphrey out of Alabama is probably the best Alabama player we've ever had. But
honestly, I would take Paul Kruger over Jared Johnson.
You take Paul Kruger over Jared Johnson?
Yeah,
I can see that.
Jared Johnson. Let me say this: Jared Johnson definitely solidified that outside. He was a containment guy, but Paul Kruger in our defense, he actually got after the quarterback. He was able to create his own rush.
Yeah, I mean, I see Joshua Abraham says, "How long have you been on the live?" It's been just less than an hour, and here he is. Maddox is coming on, and Maddox is actually going to be able to see all your comments, so we can just click on him, bring him up, and he can talk about them. Here we go. Maddox, how you doing? Welcome to the stream.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good, man.
We're
How you
doing good.
I had to put on the Jerome Bettis jersey. I don't know if y'all can see it, but
I can respect.
Oh, there's a reason we call him the Bust.
Oh yeah, 100%. Guy I grew up watching. So, how you guys doing today?
Good, man.
Doing good. How much of the Matt discussion did you get, or did you miss that part?
I missed all of that. I literally, when I first commented, that's right when I tuned in.
All right, so there we go. So, Maddox, you said in the chat, Josh Allen is way better than Lamar Jackson. Let's hear it, and I'll bring up everybody's comments, and then you can just talk about them, while you make your case. So, everybody in the comments, if you disagree, say your reasoning, and then we'll bring it up. Don't just say like wrong, say like wrong because of this. So, Maddox, what's the reason?
So, honestly, just first of all, I also think a lot of this has to do with what their game plan is, the difference in what the Bills like to do and what the Ravens in the past have really liked to do. In the past, even when Lamar had his 36 touchdown season, they've been primarily a run team that loves to be physical and loves to just wear teams out and control the clock. And then in games where Lamar has struggled, like I like to look back to the last year's Steeler game where Spillane had the pick six. He does get a little bit more rattled, I would say, than Josh Allen in those big kind of games. And I mean, just looking statistically, Allen wasn't that good his rookie year. He wasn't great his second year. But this last year, man, he took one of the biggest leaps we've ever seen a quarterback take in recent memory. Just looking at raw stats, 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks. And, his interception numbers are definitely a little bit worse than Lamar. That's where I do give Lamar a huge advantage is just protecting the football.
I think last year Josh Allen had 10 picks. Lamar had 9.
Yes. But if you look back at previous years, there's a big difference there. I mean, Lamar's never thrown double digits interceptions. His rookie year, granted, he only played 7 games or started 7 games, but he only threw 3 interceptions. He only threw 6 picks the year he threw 36. And if you look back at Josh Allen, it was 10, 9, and 12. So, and then the year he threw 12, Allen only started 11 games. So, I mean, you just look back at that. Granted, Josh Allen has developed into I would personally put him top 7, 8. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think Lamar's right behind him, though. I mean, it's close. It is very close. But I just think Josh Allen gets the edge just simply because of the weapons he has and the systems he's in is really catered to to airing the ball out consistently and not having those games like Lamar. Like Lamar, it seems like sometimes he either has a really, really big passing game or just those 150, 200-yard passing games with 1 touchdown, Whereas Josh Allen consistently is putting up 250, 300-yard, 350-yard games.
So the biggest thing that I saw initially, have that guy wide receiver 1. If Lamar had Diggs, it's because of getting Diggs. Because of Diggs. How much does Diggs play in the factor and Josh Allen having a guy like Stephon Diggs? And not just Diggs. I think Cole Beasley is he the best slot wide receiver in the NFL? Like pure slot wide receiver. I know Keenan Allen plays a lot out of the slot, and I think Keenan Allen's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But as a pure slot guy, is Cole Beasley, I think he's the most underrated. How much does Diggs and Beasley being significantly better than the pass catchers the Ravens have had? How much of that does that play in evaluating them?
I do think that does play a big role, but I mean, I like to look at it too more of how much better has Josh Allen made Diggs this last year. Like Diggs coming from playing with Kirk, Diggs had 450 more yards than he's ever had in his career. And granted, that he had a pretty long career with Minnesota. You're looking at 6 years, 5 years. So I mean, how much of it is Allen making Diggs better? I think it's just overall a very harmonious system what they have there in Buffalo. I do think a lot of it too is Lamar's development has been kind of hindered by Hollywood not developing the way that we really have thought he would. Granted, I mean, Hollywood's been kind of limited in what he's been doing in the past, but I mean, they've done a really good job putting good tight ends around Lamar. But how helpful is that? I mean, having a true legitimate number one top 10 receiver would actually really change Lamar's perception in the league. I know a lot of guys I've seen, especially the Patriots fans and Undrafted Network, talk about how he doesn't have the arm strength, how he has a noodle and like all this crazy stuff. But I mean, it's very hard to air the ball out and throw it deep when you don't have legitimate deep threats. And yeah, Hollywood is a deep threat, but he's just too inconsistent to put him up there in the top 5 deep threats in the league.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I mean, the wide receivers that they have, Lamar's limited by that, and the perception around the league is that he can't do it, but he's not given the opportunity, whether it be the coaching or the players around him. This is funny. Don C says this guy's working for PFF. I'm thinking, that's great. Oh my gosh, y'all are commenting so fast.
We love
let's see here. Yeah, thank you everybody for all the comments. We'll get to them eventually. Voice says, if you lead the NFL in passing touchdowns with average receivers in a run-heavy offense, you're making the most out of your opportunities compared to Allen in a roughly pass-heavy offense. And in addition to that, a lot of people were talking about efficiency over total yards. And somebody even said something about Dak Prescott throws for a lot of yards. Cam Neal says, so Dak is better than Josh Allen if we're going off yards per game. So what do you have to say about the Ravens? Are a run heavy offense. Lamar tries to be efficient with the football rather than for totals. How does that factor in your opinion?
Oh, that is something you can consider. I really like that comment that Boyd has here. That is on the money right there. But granted, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just the sheer volume difference of how many passing yards Josh Allen threw for last year compared to Lamar's. And granted, Lamar ran for a lot of yards last year, so that does have to weigh in. But I'm talking about sheer passing and who I want to go out there and shred up a defense. I would take Allen just slightly over Lamar. Lamar, you kind of have to have a unique system around him in order to succeed, and the Ravens have really done a good job at that. I'm a huge fan of the Ravens offense, the way it's ran. Granted, now that Greg Roman's out of town, I think it's going to completely take off.
Greg Roman's not fired yet.
Oh, he's not? I thought they fired him.
No.
Holy crap. That sucks. That sucks for you guys. I'm sorry. I thought they fired him.
No.
Wow. That is – I don't know. I feel like Greg Roman has also really limited Lamar's development as a down-the-field passer. And that really sucks to say because I love the John Harbaugh – go in there, pound it out. I mean, that's what Steelers football has been my entire life up until recently. I love that style of offense. And when you have the amount of really, really good running backs that the Ravens have, like I think J.K. Dobbins is legit. I think Gus Bus is legit. And granted, Mark Ingram's out of town, but I liked him last year, granted, in specific running sets and specific roles and not using him as a consistent back. That definitely – him getting out of town. Did they sign any other running backs this year or draft anyone else?
They did not.
We only got an undrafted.
Yeah.
So I mean, even a two-headed backfield of Gus Bus and J.K. Dobbins, I think that's probably I would put that in top 10 of total back, like just pure backfield skill. I would put them in the top 10 in the NFL. I'm really high on both of them. I was really disappointed when the Steelers passed on J.K. Dobbins. Actually, that was kind of disappointing. But yeah, like I totally agree with what he says. Lamar's taking advantage of every opportunity he's getting. He fits the system very well.
Yeah, these comments.
Hey, Chad, man,
I love these guys. Philip.
LOL.
You in the San Francisco hat.
I'll just mute my mic then.
Listen, Ravens fans, y'all have to be nice to our guys, no matter what they say. Come on now.
Diggs was the number 1 receiver in the NFL last year, and we saw that they kept throwing the ball to him when he beat us in the playoffs. You don't need rocket science for this one. Diggs wasn't even that dominant against the Ravens in the playoff game. The Ravens actually did a pretty good job against Josh Allen. They just couldn't move the ball on offense. I also saw people talking about how the Ravens only lost to the Bills because Tucker missed field goals. The Bills also missed field goals in that game. I believe the Bills missed a field goal and an extra point. The Ravens missed 2 field goals. That's like a 2-point difference.
That was a super sloppy game.
Yeah, it was. That was not. It was similar to the Patriots game that the Ravens lost, where it was like, oh, they were in a monsoon. So we don't really know how much better they are than who's better, the Bills or the Ravens. They're yet to play in a normal game where they both have good weapons, because that game was a windstorm and nobody could, like, Josh Allen kept trying to throw the ball deep and then the wind would just push it every time down the field, and nobody could move the ball, and the Bills don't run the football, so the wind was majorly affecting that game. Let's see here. There's so much stuff, but oh my God, never heard this one. Social Brown is not a number 1 wide receiver, but I believe we have 2 number 1 wide receivers in Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace. Maddox, I know you know about Tylan Wallace.
I love Tylan Wallace. I was so disappointed the Steelers did not draft him. I was so pissed off. I have watched so many Oklahoma State football games. That man is a difference maker when he is healthy. I think that he has legit, like, hidden gem number 1 wide receiver potential. Just watching Oklahoma State games, they would drop back and just chuck it up to him, double coverage, and he always made huge plays.
Yeah, which is funny that you say that, like, you really wanted him, because I really wanted a couple guys that the Steelers drafted. I really wanted Juju and I really wanted Claypool, and of course the Steelers got both of them. So hopefully it kind of works, because those guys turned out okay. And I also really wanted Diggs. I also wanted Simi Fehoko. So Simi Fehoko scored today. He's a beast. But what do you think about this idea? Josh Allen's only had 1 good season. I think it's a fair point, but at the same time, he's only played 3 seasons. It's not like he's a 10-year veteran with, unfortunately, I don't want to make this comparison, but he's not this guy. He's not Joe Flacco. Like, he didn't play for 10 years and have 1 good year. He's played for 3 years and got better every year. I think that's the biggest thing to look at. But what do you think about the 1 good season argument for Josh Allen?
I feel like that's kind of like what I talked about in the beginning. It's just Lamar had much better those first 2 years. I think they were the same class, weren't they?
Yeah.
Those first 2 years, Lamar was the better quarterback. But I ultimately think that the huge jump that we saw Allen have, and granted, you can attribute that to the increase in weapons, but you just look at completion percentage. He was a 58.8% passer 2 seasons ago. Last season, 69.2. How do you go from 58.8 to an entire 11% jump in 1 season? That's crazy to me. That is huge development. And Lamar, he is very efficient as it is, but you just look at his completion percentage, it is pretty middle of the pack when you compare it to the rest of starting NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, and something I want to add on, I think Josh Allen's rushing ability gets overlooked. How close is he to Lamar? He's not that close. But, like, how close, where does Josh Allen rank in terms of rushing quarterbacks, do you think, in the NFL, just based off of rushing ability alone?
Well, I think you have to have Lamar clear 1 in the NFL. I don't think there's any other quarterback that can do what he does with his feet. I mean, you just look back at the Titans game. I mean, that was like watching like Jesus play quarterback. I mean, that was. I bet the Ravens that game. I watched that entire game from start to finish. When he broke that big run, I was like, I am watching Jesus Christ run the football. And then you got to go Kyler Murray, I think number 2. And then after that, I don't know. Do you think Josh Allen's a better running quarterback than Dak?
I think so.
Really?
I definitely think so. I think
okay.
Like they're on the same level. Low key.
He's more physical, I think, and I think he has better top end speed.
And I don't think people want to tackle Josh Allen. I think that you look back at like Big Ben when he was in his prime, and he would make those crazy scrambles. Those crazy scrambles. People didn't want to tackle him. Yeah. He's a big dude, and so is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a big dude.
You talk to somebody that's about 6'5", 280 pounds. I remember playing against Calvin Hall. It's an all boys high school here in Baltimore, Maryland, and it was my JV years. I played outside linebacker. My coach sent me on a blitz. The quarterback was maybe about 6'2" and 240, and that boy lowered his shoulder down. I ended up falling back. So I wasn't scared, but at the same time, when you ain't scared, you gotta brace yourself for that impact, and somebody going to fall. And unfortunately, I ended up being that one. But yeah, when you see a guy, that big, and that's not scared, that don't mind putting his shoulder down, it's not too much you can do. Only thing you can do is get ready for the head-to-head collision, and hope you the one that knocks him out, and not be the one that get knocked out.
I got bad news for everyone in the chat. Titans agreed to terms with veteran edge rusher John Simon. I'm just kidding. Not a big deal.
Also, too, going back to where he ranks in quarterback rushing. I mean, in 2020, I don't think this was talked about a whole lot. Cam Newton rushed for 600 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns.
Did he have more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns?
Yeah. But still, I mean, we're just talking about running the ball.
Yeah, just running the ball. My comp for Josh Allen has always been Cam Newton. I think he's now better than Cam Newton was just because of I think he's a better thrower of the football than Cam. But as a runner, very similar. Their body types, pretty much the same. And the way they play. Cam Newton, when he was in Carolina pre-injury, it's how Josh Allen plays, but Josh Allen just hasn't gotten injured, which completely restricted Cam Newton's ability to throw and develop as a thrower, which is really unfortunate because Cam could have been absolutely insane. And people say Josh Allen runs recklessly. Yeah, but so did Cam. That's the whole thing, is you just run knowing you're bigger and stronger than everybody else, bouncing off of everybody, and eventually you fall over. He breaks tackles daily.
I think we're forgetting about the guy that's faster than Lamar Jackson. No one's brought up Daniel Jones. Mr. Trip over his cleats himself.
I hate Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL. Year. He's the worst quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He has like 30 fumbles in his career.
That Giants organization, man, it's been downhill. I think did the wide I forgot his name.
Galladay?
No, the other one from University of Florida.
Kadarius Toney's on the COVID reserve list.
Already starting off bad, man. So
I'm high on Toney actually too. I watched a lot of Florida football this year as well, and he's a playmaker in the slot. But I mean, how much of that is teams are so focused on Kyle Pitts, especially at the collegiate level? You would see all of their focus was on Kyle Pitts, and that left a lot of room for Kadarius Toney to come underneath.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
I
don't think so.
No.
He has people. We had to understand. Lamar has made his leaps. Josh Allen has made his leaps. Like I didn't said it before. When you have a 6'5" quarterback versus like a 6'6" quarterback, it's different levels. Sometimes those 6'5".
I don't know if people understand what arm talent is.
Okay, Jackie. And see, I'm gonna say this: it's a difference between Ravens fans. Ravens fans and people that love the game. And sometimes you just got to give respect and credit when it's due. we're not taking away from neither one. Both of them are great in their own way. I mean, yes, Lamar is continuing to make strides, and we all know last season, Josh Allen made a big stride in his passing efficiency, his accuracy, and also with the talent, with some of the additional talent. So, Jackie, let's be real. We still had Lamar still have some work to do in regards, and he knows that, and that's what makes him better as a player and as a person. Period. For the simple fact, when you have somebody that that can make anything happen. Also, not only just making anything happen, but also willing to do the work and get the leg room in, and also had the IQ level to make himself a better player. I feel like I don't know if y'all guys been watching some of the videos when they was getting in the training camp, but when Lamar arrived in Baltimore, it just feel like it's a different type of swagger that he's about to bring in for this upcoming year. So y'all be on the lookout and be ready.
Yeah, overall, I think. Oh my gosh, I don't. There's not even a case for Josh. Like Josh Allen may have the most arm talent in the NFL. I think he's definitely top 3, maybe top 4. He may have more arm talent than Mahomes. I think Stafford may actually be number 1. The issue is Stafford. You have to look at young Stafford. Stafford's significantly older now, which reduces the arm talent. But also slightly stronger arm. No. Josh Allen has a much stronger arm, and it's not a bad thing to not have a strong arm in the NFL. That's not a negative. Deshaun Watson has a weak arm. Deshaun Watson is, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but he has a weak arm. Russell Wilson has a weak arm. He's probably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, but he has a weak arm. Lamar Jackson has a meh strength arm. He's average. He's got an average strength, maybe slightly above average. Josh Allen is maybe top 5 all time in strongest arms. He's up there with Mahomes, Stafford, Favre, and Elway. Those are the guys for arm strength if you're looking at, the NFL. And, overall, Warden Zero says it best. It's not about the arm. It's about how you use it, which is right. The issue with Josh Allen coming out was, he had a monster arm. He was so inaccurate. He couldn't hit anybody. His arm was too strong because every pass is going over people's head. He's fixed it seemingly. At least last year, it got a lot better. And that's the thing you can look for and be like, wow, if that's able to continue, that's scary. Because the only knock on him was he can't hit players. Now he can. He's not a perfect quarterback by any means. He's still inaccurate in some points. I think Josh Allen misses more throws where it's just that was way off than Lamar, but he also has, he can throw the ball 75 yards down the field in the air, 4 times a game. He can straight up do that. He can hit any spot on the field. Lamar can throw it 55, I would say, or maybe 60 on on a full windup. He can hit a 60, which is good, which is a very good throw. That's more than Brady, but it's not at the Mahomes and Josh Allen level, and that's not a knock. It's like looking at Stephen Curry and saying Steph Curry can't dunk though. Who shoots threes better than anybody? Just because you can't do one part of the thing doesn't mean that you're bad. Steph Curry can't dunk. I don't think anybody's going to go into an argument talking about the top 5 players in basketball and say, but Steph can't dunk.
No, as long as you got to shoot, as long as you can shoot the way you can shoot, who really needs to dunk? That's another one you can compare. He coming out of Dayton, or was it Davidson? Either way,
yeah,
he was unknown. But what did he do? Continue working and working and working to the point where that's Steph Curry. And when the people realized that's Steph Curry, that's when they started adding those pieces with Clay, Draymond. But it's all about your work ethic and what you really put into it, and that's it's going to be a special season regardless for both these guys. So the thing is, I think the question is, can Josh duplicate last season or go or exceed even higher, or has he really hit his ceiling? that's why I think, that's what's going to separate this Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen talk. Like, can which one continues to grow? So.
Yeah, I see somebody said Josh Allen or Flacco has a stronger arm. I don't think so, but Flacco can be in that conversation of strong arms.
He's a 60-70 deep ball.
Like he could definitely throw it deep. I think Josh Allen is the strongest arm in the NFL. I think it's somebody asked Allen or Mahomes. I think it's Allen. I think Allen probably could throw a couple more yards, maybe 5 more yards than Mahomes, in pads and stuff like that. He rifles it like nobody I've really ever seen. That's what makes him fun to watch. But overall, I see people hyping up Stafford. Yes, Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford's always been that guy. Finally he's in a better position. We just hopefully, he can come out with something before he retires. I think he should have retired with Megatron, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, overall, I see somebody Floyd says Mohamed Sanu's arm though. Mohamed Sanu, not the strongest arm, but the most accurate arm. Greatest passer the NFL has ever seen, besides Sam Cook. Obviously, Sam Cook, 8 for 8. If you know, you know.
I think people forgot about the most one of the guys that had the biggest arm but never had a real career in the NFL, and that was Jamarcus Russell. I think on his knees.
I thought you were going to say David Carr.
No. Yeah, no. I think on his knees he threw for like 60 yards.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wish that they brought back. I see. How can you do more with Allen when we clearly saw how bad Allen looked with average talent? Lamar can do more with less. Imagine if he had top-level talent. Yeah, I mean, with average – okay, Josh Allen never had average talent around him. He had horrible, bad, and then good. But, like, we look at the wide receivers like he's got 2 great wide receivers. Yes. Dawson Knox is a below-average tight end. No run game. Devin Singletary and Zachary Moss were drafted to be good running backs. They're not, or at least they haven't shown it yet. Like, that's the thing is, like, yeah, but Lamar has had guys to help him out. He's had Mark Andrews, and I'm not trying to say Josh Allen's better, but I'm just trying to, like, be kind of unbiased in this. And, like, Lamar's had Ronnie Stanley, a premier left tackle. He had Orlando Brown Jr., a Pro Bowl right tackle for his career. He had Marshall Yanda at the beginning. And then he also had Hayden Hurst, a rookie, had Nick Boyle, has had Patrick Ricard. Like, he's had good players around him. The wide receivers, no good wide receivers, but he's had like the baseline pieces to build a run game, which helps the passing game. But his game's built around the run. So, overall, like, I think it's difficult to say like he with average talent. No, Zay Jones is not average talent as a number 1 wide receiver. That is like one of the worst wide receiver cores I've ever seen. Like, that might be worse than what the Jets had last year with Braxton Berrios and Brashad Perriman. Like, that's how bad it is. Oh, I see a question. Do you all play Madden Ultimate Team? You do not know how much I play Madden Ultimate Team. Yes. All day, every day, especially when Madden comes out. I haven't played in a minute, but when Madden comes out, I play Madden Ultimate Team.
I have a question.
About 60 hours a week.
Oh, damn. I have a question for both of you guys. Do you think Lamar is the best quarterback in the North?
I know you're going to say Burrow, and I think you're completely
No, I'm not going to say Burrow. I'm just wondering.
I think so, yeah.
How much better do you think he is than Mayfield?
I think he's significantly better than Mayfield, and I love Baker. However, Baker is a guy who needs a proper system, and I'm not saying Lamar doesn't need a good system, but Baker's very reliable. If the run game isn't working, Baker really struggles. But I think a lot of that has to do with his height. He needs to be able to get outside the pocket and needs to shift the linemen and things like that to be able to see the players. But when Baker has that run game, you could make a case for him being a top 10 quarterback when he has those guys. When the offense is working, like, would you rather have an on-fire Baker Mayfield? On-fire Baker Mayfield is top 5 on fire quarterback in the NFL. Like, what we saw that Thursday night football game against the Bengals where he just went off. We saw the Ravens Browns game Monday Night Football where he went absolutely off because he caught fire. I love Baker. I think Lamar's definitely significantly better than him, but sleeper quarterback Dwayne Haskins. The best quarterback on the Steelers. No, I'm just kidding. I actually still like Big Ben.
Well, I mean, like looking at Baker, just pure statistically, 3,500 yards last year, 26 touchdowns, 62.8% completion, 8 picks. Like, that's not necessarily great. Like, that's not a guy I think is a Super Bowl quarterback. And a lot of people are saying Browns to the Super Bowl this year, which is absolutely crazy to me.
People,
I truly think the division's going to go Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals.
yes, I agree.
And I don't think the Browns will make the playoffs this year.
I think they might. I think it depends.
With expanded playoff, yeah, you're right. They might.
The expanded playoff. I think the Titans and Colts will make it. So in my opinion, it comes down to Chargers, Browns, or Dolphins would be the 3 teams that I think have
Dolphins will make the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
Dude, I think you're underrating their defense.
Their defense is good.
Like their secondary, I think could absolutely be the number 1 secondary in the NFL next year.
I started watching a lot of Dolphins football after Tua took over, and so many games, their offense is just can't move the football.
Oh yeah.
And then out of nowhere, defense, fumble recovery, touchdown, pick 6. And then they get a crazy stop and then block a punt. And then Tua has the ball at the 10-yard line and they score. And then just like that, it's 28-7 and the game's already over.
Yeah. Also, speaking on Baltimore zone, just quickly, do you play Madden Ultimate Team? Yeah, we probably could end up streaming. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to use the second channel. It just takes so much time to edit videos. But we could stream it possibly on this channel if y'all would ever be interested. Just hanging out. But in terms of looking at, Baker's interesting, and the Browns are really interesting, but the Dolphins, that's the team. And for me, I think the biggest impact rookie this year, I think many people would say it's going to be Najee. I would disagree. I think it's going to be Javon Holland. Him going to the Dolphins and joining that secondary.
Okay.
I think he could have a Derwin James level impact rookie season. Like, he's that good. Like, we just didn't get to see him play recently at Oregon, but he is a monster safety. And he's going to be able to get a ton of picks. And then you add that in with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. And they drafted, I can't pronounce the guy's name, the corner they drafted out of Auburn last year in the first round. I want to say with pick 17. It was like Igbenogene.
Yeah, it's with an I.
Yeah.
It's like Ibohino or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then they also have Eric Rowe at safety as well. That's crazy. And then they drafted Jalen Phillips, who was one of the best pass rushers in the draft. Like, I think this defense for Miami is going to be very, very good. Like, I think they could absolutely hold down any offense in the NFL. Void says Noah Igbenogene. I was kind of close. I feel good about that off of pure memory because I never watched him play at Miami or in Miami. But the offense is scary. Tua is he has the same problem that Marcus Mariota has. He is too afraid to play football, and because you'll look at his stats and it's like, oh wow, he was 10 for 12 for 47 yards in the first half, and it's like, why? Because he won't throw the ball downfield because he's afraid to throw a pick. Marcus Mariota has a ton of talent. However, when he got to Tennessee, he held them back because he wouldn't throw it when there's anybody near the guy because he's just used to all that stuff. And I think that's just very difficult to win with. If your quarterback is afraid to throw it, now it's one thing, okay, you don't want, Jameis level of just absolute chuck it, but you got to have a guy that takes risks. Mahomes takes a ton of risks. He gets bailed out. A lot of his risks, could have been picks. Josh Allen, a lot of risks could have been picks. Lamar, a lot of passes could have been picks. But if you don't take risks, you're not going to be able to move the ball. It's very, very rough. Warden Zero. Oh man, Warden Zero is an Oregon fan. Ugh.
They do have some of the jerseys in college football.
Thoughts on Carl Nassib? I mean, congrats to him for coming out. As a player, he's not an amazing player. He's like a decent player. I don't know what thoughts you want on Carl Nassib.
That's a defensive end. Was he defensive end, right?
He's a defensive end on the Raiders. And Warden Zero says TTB Madden Dynasty League. We may have said, or we could just. I play squads. I played mud squads. So if y'all ever want to be playing mud squads, eventually I have a PS5. But
y'all be
right
ready
now,
when NCAA come out.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll be playing mud squads. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do on stream. We got to get everybody on. Just play mud squads on stream late at night. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then in addition to the Ravens content, I don't know. Do y'all think that's a good idea? Just to stream on this channel, play Madden? I don't know. Comment if you think it's a meh idea, or if you don't want it, or if you do want it. Because I play a ton of Madden, and I don't want to edit the videos down because it takes 4 hours to do, and streaming's way easier. But let's see here. Yeah,
you hit it on the nail with that one.
Adam said Tua can't finish games, and his coach benched him twice. Yeah, that's sad. I know a guy Mike Maddox knows Mike. He's like, Tua's so good, and we're like, no, he's not. He's terrible. He has potential. Don't get me wrong. If Tua decides to take risks, he has potential. As does Marcus Mariota, because I believe he's still in Oakland, or I'm sorry, Las Vegas. Gruden, loved Mariota's talent, and he's like, maybe I can get him to throw it somewhere. But I don't know. It's not like you were benching him for some other young guy. It's like you benched him for Fitzpatrick. Why? Because Fitzpatrick makes risky plays. It's rough. And I see Void says Madden Anywhere is good. All right, that makes me feel better. So that'll definitely, when Madden comes out, the streams will be on point. Don't worry.
Speaking of Fitz, do you think he makes it to the Hall of Fame for being a journeyman?
No. He's never made the playoffs. You can't be a Hall of Famer if you've never made the playoffs. That's bad.
Listen.
And isn't it to be eligible for the NFL Hall of Fame, you have to be at least one Pro Bowl, and he hasn't made one?
Mm.
That may be a rule. That would make sense.
I think it is a rule. Because I saw something like we should just vote him in this year to the Pro Bowl game so that we can get him on the ballot.
He does have exciting moments.
He's not a Hall of Fame player, though. He's not a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback.
Oh, no, for sure not. But he hasn't. The only team he hasn't played for is us. He hasn't played for the Steelers. I don't think he played for the AFC North.
He has not. He don't want this.
Yeah, he played for the Bengals in 07.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
07, 08.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be the better.
Bateman or Tylan Wallace? I think potential-wise, it's Tylan. But I think, if you wanted to take bets, bet Bateman. Because he's just going to get more opportunities, which is really tough for a guy like Tylan Wallace to come into a receiving core where the Ravens haven't had wide receivers for 5 years, and then they finally get all of them in 1 year. And now it's like Duvernay and Tylan are kind of sitting behind. But, when Sammy ends up stepping aside after this year, most likely Tylan should be able to come in. I don't expect the Ravens to draft any wide receivers next year. And he'll be able to absolutely dominate. I mean, he could become the best contested catch maker in the NFL and take that crown away from Mike Williams. But we'll see. We'll see if he's able to do it against the corners. That's why I want to watch practice. I want to watch him go up against Marlon Humphrey. I want to watch it. Him against Marcus Peters. Let me see it. That's all I'm waiting for.
I mean, we already know Bateman's already earned Marlon's respect. Definitely got to see what talent can do. So,
yeah, it's very interesting looking at this. But I don't know. That may be it for the end of the stream. It was a good stream. Wow, it was an hour and a half long. Wow. Thank you everybody for coming in. Maddox, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me.
But eventually we'll get the Madden streams going once Madden actually comes out. I know Maddox plays Madden. Maddox
Not
doesn't
anymore.
like cheese plays.
I sold my PS4 and I bought a new MacBook and I'm not gonna buy a new PS5.
Wow.
So,
Mike beat you that bad in Madden. No,
I know, bro. Mike was the downfall of my Madden career.
But so overall, should be a lot of fun once that gets going, but that'll be once Madden actually comes out. And so if anybody has PS4, PS5, add me. I'll play. I'll put my thing in the chat, so if y'all want to add me, you can. Really random, but that's my PSN. You can't change your PSM. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll be playing on PS4, and when I can get a PS5, I'll play on the PS5. But PS5 suck. Can't get them. It's very frustrating. But thanks, everybody. We'll see all of you again next week for the Live with the Viewers, but I'll see you tomorrow with the video.